If you're looking for a graphics card around $150, then I got you covered in this video. We've got 3 really great budget options for you today in this price range, but I do want you to know that they are all from the used market. For $150, I think the used market brings you the best bang for your buck. You could go brand new and get a few graphics cards, but none of them are quite up to par with these 3 options I'm going to give you today. And the last graphics card in this video that I will show you today is an absolute banger that nobody's talking about, so you're going to want to check it out. And for the benchmarks, we used a Ryzen 7 5800X with 32 gigs of RAM at 3600 megahertz. As we talk about each graphics card, I'll also include the current used eBay prices at the time of recording this video. Let's get started. Up first is the RX 5700 XT, which packs a powerful punch here, still in 2023, at 1080p. However, you can stretch it into 1440p, but just don't expect high FPS numbers and you'll have to lower the settings. So 1080p is where it really shines. So let's take a look at those benchmarks. In Warzone 2.0, we put the settings on the balance preset settings. Now we did use some upscaling here. I like to use Fidelity CAS. FSR is okay too. I've just had more luck with Fidelity CAS. And in Warzone, we got anywhere from like 115 to 120 FPS, which is very similar performance that we got with the RX 6600. In Apex Legends at 1080p though, we put the settings all the way maxed out and we killed it with around 180 FPS. Really solid. That was better than the RX 6600. Halo Infinite still stands as a very tough and demanding game, and the maps are just sort of kind of crazy here in 2023, and depending on what map you get, your FPS could spike drastically, or it could stay around the area that we have throughout most of these benchmarks. And at the medium preset settings, we were around 110 FPS. Fortnite was the star of the show. Most of the time, Fortnite runs better on NVIDIA GPUs. Even though I mainly play Fortnite on performance mode, that would kind of defeat the purpose of using a GPU benchmark for it. So we used DirectX 12 with everything on medium, except for the view distance. We put that on epic, and I turned shadows off just because I don't like shadows. And we got around 200 FPS for the entire match here. I think that's pretty solid for Fortnite with an AMD GPU. In Hogwarts Legacy with FSR turned on, we got around 110 FPS on the ultra settings. If you want to turn FSR off, you'll still get a smooth experience and it'll look a little bit better. Red Dead Redemption 2, we put it on the favor quality, the first level of that, which got a 68 FPS on average, and the game looked pretty good. In Cyberpunk 2077, on the high preset settings, we got 84 FPS. Now, as far as the price of the 5700 XT goes, there's a couple things you want to keep in mind. One, this card was heavily used for mining, so just be careful and make sure you get from a really good trusted seller. The other thing to keep in mind is to make sure you go to eBay and sort by the ones that have been sold recently. This will give you the prices that they're actually being sold for and not the ones they're listed for, because people can pay on eBay to get their product shoved in front of your face. As you can see with the 5700 XT, some of these are sold for parts not working, so you want to make sure you're actually looking at working graphics cards that were sold, and a lot of them are being sold for under $150. So if you're patient, you can definitely find a deal there. The next graphics card I want to talk about packs the same amount of punch as the 5700 XT. They're neck and neck in a lot of games. There's a few differences here and there, but it draws a little bit less power. It has the same amount of VRAM, and that is the RX 6600. It is an absolute beast, still at 1080p, and you're not going to find much better on the budget options. So again, let's look at the benchmarks. We took to the skies in Warzone 2.0 at 1080p on the balanced preset settings. We did use some upscaling to help us out. The Fidelity CAS is the one I have the most success with. Throughout this game, we got anywhere from 100 to 120-ish FPS. It was a very smooth experience. I really enjoyed it. I thought this was the smoothest game of Warzone I've played in a while, especially because I've been testing so many budget systems lately. And we even got a few of them eliminations. And if you really like building budget PC systems, or you just want to save the most money possible, then you should really think about pressing that like and subscribe button. Halo Infinite is a more demanding game here in 2023 because it's just kind of all over the place, and I don't think it's the most optimized thing in the world, and there are no upscaling technologies that I've seen available. And the maps are totally crazy. You get high FPS on some maps and not high FPS on other maps. In the map that you see here, we got anywhere from like 95 to 115 FPS, which is one of the lowest FPS maps that I've seen in Halo Infinite. In everyone's favorite battle royale, Fortnite, we decided to go at 1080p on epic settings everywhere just to see what it would do. Everyone says that we shouldn't benchmark Fortnite on a GPU benchmark run, but Fortnite can be very extensive if you do not run it in performance mode. As you can see here, we only got like 55 to 65 FPS, which is crazy for Fortnite, but the game looked really good though. If you wanted a more playable experience, you could turn the shadows off and turn the other stuff like the textures on medium and keep the view distance on epic, and you got a smoother 120 to like 150 FPS experience. Next, we tested Apex Legends, and Steam typically limits your frame rate according to your monitor. You have to go into Steam and type in this little code to basically unlimit the FPS. I did not do that here in the footage, but I did go back and do it later, and there wasn't a whole lot of difference in the FPS. At the ultra preset settings, we got 144, pretty solid here in the original footage, and when I went back and unlimited it, we only got about 5 more, around like 150, 152-ish FPS. In Cyberpunk 2077, we ran the built-in benchmark at 1080p medium settings, and we got over 100 FPS. We probably really could have run this on high or even ultra settings. I wouldn't try ray tracing, but a little bit higher settings would be just fine. On Red Dead Redemption 2, we tried the highest preset balance settings they had. Their setting presets are kind of weird, so this is a mixture of like medium to high settings. We got an average of like 80 to 90 FPS. Sons of the Forest is pretty graphically demanding at 1080p medium settings. We only got like 60 to 70 FPS. It did jump up to 80 a few times while I was chasing some deer around. And in Hogwarts Legacy, with FSR turned on ultra settings, we got around 90 to 100 FPS. Now, as far as eBay pricing goes for the RX 6600, you will have to try a little bit harder, but you can see here there are some being sold around that $150 mark. I would not pay much more for one of these graphics cards, because then you can go up to something like the 6600 XT or the new 7600 if you're willing to spend just a little bit more. And I'm not going to give you 3 options without giving you at least one from Team Green, because there's still a lot of people that love NVIDIA graphics cards, and this one is not talked about very much at all. And that is the RTX 2060 Super. They're going for budget prices right now on eBay, anywhere from $150, some as low as $120, and it is great for live streaming as well as 1080p gaming. So let's look at those benchmarks. In Call of Duty Warzone 2.0, we use the balanced preset settings with some image scaling technology, and we got 80 to 90 FPS for the most part. There were a few times where you might have jumped in the water or ran through a street here and there where it dropped down to 70, but for the most part, it was very smooth and an enjoyable experience. In Apex Legends, we maxed out the settings and we got 144 FPS, because that's the most this test monitor could do. Now, you can go type in this little code thing to get the unlimited FPS, but it only bumped it up to about 150 or 160, so it wasn't that big of a deal. In Halo Infinite, on the medium preset settings, we got 80 to 90 FPS. Halo Infinite, though, is crazy with all their different maps, and there are some maps where we got over 120. Just depends on your luck of the draw. Fortnite's a game where I don't know why you would want it to look super pretty, but if you did, you could turn on DX12 and put all the settings on like medium and high, and you could get 80 to 90 FPS. Most people don't play Fortnite that way, but just in case you wanted to know. Hogwarts Legacy on ultra settings with FSR turned on, we had 80 to 90 FPS. And a couple of built-in benchmarks to just kind of really stress the GPU out. We did Red Dead Redemption 2 on the like favor quality level 1 preset settings. Their presets are kind of weird, and we got 65 FPS. And on the high preset settings in Cyberpunk 2077, we got 90 FPS. You cannot go wrong with any of these graphics cards. If you're probably going into streaming video editing, I would probably go with the RTX 2060 Super, because it's a little bit more reliable when it comes to that sort of stuff. But any of these are great options, and if you want to see how cheap you can build a PC with one of these graphics cards, then go check out this video.